Welcome to Crimson Guitars and welcome to a short, I suppose, tutorial video. I've been asked many times what to avoid, what to think about when starting out as a hobby or even professional guitar builder. And I spend quite a lot of time on YouTube, and something you often see is top 10 ways to lose your woman or whatever. And I thought it's time to do a video in a similar vein. Follow the herd. Anyhow, this is my top 7 or 8 mistakes that a beginning guitar builder should try to avoid if at all possible. Now, mistakes are what create you as a guitar builder and are absolutely 100%, it's an important part of what we do. In fact, what separates a professional from a hobbyist is that a professional knows how to recover from an error and when it is possible to recover from a mistake. And that's that. These things happen and it just is what it is. So, I've entitled it Top 10 Rookie Mistakes, but it got more and more specific as we went on. I'm going to go through this relatively quickly. Number 1, don't bite off more than you can chew. We have students who come to spend a week or a day or 3 months or longer even, excuse me, learning how to build guitars or how to repair them, or you can come in and do a single day on fretwork, etc. And one of the first things that we do when somebody's coming in to do a build is look at what they want to make. And often, for a first build, students say, I want to build a through-neck instrument with a 5-piece multi-laminate neck in 4 different woods with a fan fretboard and a Hans bridge, or and wings with a separate top on top of that, and maybe tone chambers as well. And they're coming down for a 5-day course. And even if you're doing this at home and have some experience with wood, I always urge people to start out slowly and simply. If you've got no woodworking experience, start out by buying a neck in. Cheapies on eBay. In fact, that's a good way to practice your fretwork. Or if you want a nicer neck, obviously you can come to us. But get something in and just build a body, or 2 bodies, or 3 bodies, or 4 bodies for that one neck. And when you've got a little bit more experience, then you move forward and spend more time concentrating on building the necks and going to set necks and tenons and you know, this is a rabbit hole down which you will fall, but it is a mistake to bite off more than you can chew. And it's a mistake that I've made multiple times. I had a guitar, it's a fantastic double-necked instrument, 6-string bass, 6-string guitar that's detachable, that you can take apart and have as a single 6-string bass and a separate guitar. I lost 6 months of my life to that build and only charged him for about 6 weeks worth of work because I bit off way more than I could chew. And I love the instrument, but I regret the business choices involved in that one. Okay, number 2, look at your materials. Good materials are really worth it. Pine. Everybody says, oh, I can get this, pine from the local big box store and I'll make a couple of Telecaster bodies out of that and it's all, cheap and good and wonderful. And frankly, pine is not that much cheaper than many hardwoods, and it gives you many more problems. I used some spruce that I'd had around for ages to test out some of the kit instruments that we were planning on making. And the final finishing of it, because it's a cheap wood, it's very soft in places, very hard in others, and you can't get it perfectly flat. It's it's nightmarishly difficult to work, counterintuitively so. Alternatively, do not go out and buy a 100 quid Buckeye Burl top or camphor wood or something like that. There is a middle ground. A lump of sapele should be 20 or 30 pounds, and even if you get it pre-planed and dimensioned for you elsewhere, it's not massive. In comparison to spending £15 on a piece of pine big enough, or just generic softwood, or £30 on a piece of just standard sapele or poplar or something like that, it is worth that to you, just in saved time and saved heartache. Because cheap and nasty woods are cheap and nasty for a reason, and you can't really do fine woodworking, which is what we're talking about, using those materials. Okay, back to my notes. Number 3, there is a broad base of skills required. Do not forget about, don't forget all about the crappy jobs. Sanding and wiring and sanding and wiring. Buy yourself some scrapers. Sanding is not fun. When you decide that you want to be a guitar builder, you will not have apprentices like I thankfully have. And sometimes I think it's only because I don't like sanding or making templates that I employed people. I miss my shed. But when you take this on, be aware that while you are building a guitar or a bass, and this is rock and roll, man, this is awesome fun, about half of what you do is just gonna be work. And once you've made 4 or 5 guitars, you're gonna get to a stage where you think, that 500 quid Festool sander, that looks really good. Or the Merca, my Merca Deros is beautiful. So just be aware, it's not all fun and games. There are difficult parts, there are things that aren't particularly fun. I don't enjoy wiring up guitars. I don't understand what those little electrons are doing in there. I know I can follow a schematic, as long as it's drawn in English, not an actual schematic. But I don't enjoy it. And there are other people that really enjoy that but don't enjoy finishing. Finishing is a dark art. You're going to have to finish the guitar. So be aware that you're getting into a whole package, not just go down to your workshop and then a week or two later you have a guitar. Now, you need to know when to stop. This is number 4, by the way. There will be mistakes. Embrace them, move on to a new build. I'm reading what I said here. You can waste too much time trying to fix a mistake, and that time could be spent on the next build. You really, really, really need to know when to say, okay, this is as good as I'm going to get this particular guitar. You might have chosen some substandard wood, or found a crack in there that you just can't repair. You will not. Out of my first 5 guitars, I think 3 of them got burnt. At least 2 of them did. They just were not good enough and could not be put right. And the other 2 were kept just for, sentimental reasons. Even back then, I was thinking about making a museum. I was, arrogant beyond compare. So it's very important to be able to step back from what you were working on, and this goes for life and business in general, and say, okay, this will never be a masterpiece. This is my first or second instrument. I've got it to where I can get it. I need to start again, take what I've learned, use the mistakes, and move forward. So that's probably one of the most important things to know, really. Number 5, don't buy too many new expensive tools. Start slow. I've met people who decided, okay, I've hit the stage. I am going to build guitars. I've been planning on doing this for the last 30 years. I've got my redundancy package, or I've just sold my business for millions of pounds, and I'm going to set up a workshop. And they go and they buy every single tool that Triton have made, and they go and say, okay, fine, well, Ben really likes hand planes, so we're going to Clifton and we're going to buy a full set of Clifton planes, and that Lee Nielsen low angle plane that Ben likes, and the Robert Sorby chisels, and the Sabertooth carving tools, and the sharpening stones from Nowaki.com, 10% off Shapton sharpening stones. I love my Shapton sharpening stones. You don't need Shapton sharpening stones to begin with. You could make do with a standard set of Autostones. In fact, I think that I enjoy my Shaptons so much now because I spent 15 years using messy Kingstones that are relatively cheap. You know, they work as well. They need to be flattened faster, more often, and they're messy. I was showing people how to use them yesterday. My hands got all dirty and wet, and you don't get that with new ones. But I wouldn't appreciate the bounteous awesomeness of the tools that I currently have if I hadn't started out with a limited budget and limited tools. But also, and this is the important thing, you don't know what you need, especially as a beginner. You can't listen to somebody pontificating on the internet like myself. You have to have a block plane and a number 4 or a 5, and possibly a jointed plane as well, and all of these things. You can't listen to people and just go and say, well, I'm going to blow, my life savings on all these tools, because you might not like a number 4 plane. You might have bigger hands, and like a number 4.5, which is wider and heavier. You might want to go all low angle. You might want to go all vintage, or as experience develops, you will find what you prefer to use and the way in which you prefer to work. And this also goes, it holds true with machine tools and routers and router cutters and the like. If you fully kit yourself out, you might forget something, and you'll end up with something that's on the wall that you never ever use, which, I have tools like that. And okay, here's the simplified way of saying it. As you reach a particular point in the job, you will hit a brick wall and say, oh, I need to find a way to cut my fret slots. At that point, when it is in your head about that particular minute part of the build, you will say, well, I can go and buy a fret slotting jig, a fret slotting miter box. I can go and buy, we sell fret slotting saws at Crimson Guitars, and do it by hand and by eye using their tutorials. Or I could go and buy a £5,000, £10,000 CNC machine and some fine cutters and learn how to program. Which one of those suits you? We use all of these different methods, but it's only when you're actually thinking about that particular task and that particular job, when it's in the forefront of your mind, that you can actually intelligently figure out which way you want to proceed. Because once you have bought a fret slotting miter box, it's a not insignificant investment, and you're stuck with it, really, to be honest. And that's what I'm going to say on that. Okay. Number 6, you do not need a college course or a degree or an apprenticeship or anything like that. Seriously, just crack on with it. There is something to be said for having a master who will berate you and shout at you for having a nicer plane than he does. One of my apprentices has a Norris, and I don't have a Norris yet. I'm not impressed. So yes, you undeniably will learn a little bit faster if you have somebody sitting there teaching you and that's all well and good. But if you don't have access to an apprenticeship, and how many people do, we get asked for if we have an opening on an almost daily basis. You know, I can't give everybody jobs. I can't. And if that isn't an option, if there aren't college courses around you, Tanya, my other apprentice, nearly went to do a furniture making course simply to get some experience in hand tools, in tools and machines and stuff, before trying to then come and get a job with us building guitars. I just said, well, screw the course, come and work for me. Because she wanted to build guitars. She didn't want to build furniture. Now, it is a way in, and it is a way to hone your skills to a certain extent, but in the end, if you have the space and the ability, set yourself up with a workshop and start building, and just crack on and do it. I built my first instruments in a garage and my kitchen. In fact, I polled all of the luthiers for for mistakes that the beginners will make, and one of them from Christopher, I think, was not having enough support underneath your neck while you're fretting it. And the first instrument I ever fretted was on a really rickety kitchen table. Destroyed the table, destroyed the neck in the process. Just terrible. So yeah, we have YouTube now, and we've put out 300-400 odd videos or something. There are many other really intelligent people, many much more intelligent than I am, who are sharing their knowledge online through YouTube, through blogs. You can buy DVDs, you can buy books, and if you have never read a book, firstly, you've made some very poor life decisions. And secondly, go and buy some books on how to build guitars. I'm looking at a book here, literally just about how to tune a bandsaw. I've got other books on metalwork, understanding wood, how to dry wood. I've got a veritable library just behind the camera of all sorts of really interesting books that pertain to building guitars. Buy them, read them, teach yourself. If you cannot teach yourself how to do something, then frankly I don't think you can build guitars. It is a massive task. It's a huge, it's a multidiscipline job or hobby. You have metalwork, you have engineering, you have sonic engineering, sound, you have electronics, you have finishes and chemicals and all sorts of different things that you need to think about. And the ability to think intelligently is essential. And to learn and to teach yourself is essential to building instruments. All right. Number 7, and this is going to be the last one, and this is the most important, and it's almost trite. I've put this on a mug. Measure, measure, cut. This is something from people who've been saying this or similar in woodworking or instrument making or craft of any sort for hundreds of years, maybe even thousands of years. Double check what you're doing. Measure it again. Double check that you're going to make a cut where you want to make a cut, because when you have pushed that button, when you have cut that bit of wood short, if you're 5 mil short, you're 5 mil too bloody short and you have to put it in the bin. Okay? And this goes with fret slots, it goes with the thickness of the neck, it goes with the angle of your headstock, it goes, polling the luthiers. They're saying make sure you've got the angle of your neck absolutely right for the bridge that you're choosing to use. If your angle is 2 millimeters, 1 degree too shallow on the neck, your bridge is not going to work, and you're going to have to take the neck out or recess the bridge or change the carve, and it's 10 times as much work. So slow, steady deliberation. Be intelligent, be thoughtful, be mindful of what you're doing. Measure everything several times. If you take nothing away from this video, measure, measure, cut. It's Precision in all things is something else that I'm sure my apprentices and luthiers hate, because I'll walk past and say, precision in all things, and they're standing with a file saying, what am I not doing precisely? Because I'm an arsehole, basically. It's just the way it goes. Anyway, so for more specific things, we went through the luthiers very, very quickly. Make sure you support a neck properly when you're fretting it. You absolutely have to have something underneath the frets when you're banging them in. Otherwise, it's going to be all loose and wobbly and the frets aren't going to go in properly. Christopher also says, don't adjust the pickup so high that it alters the intonation. The magnetic pull on the strings will also dampen them and ruin your sustain. So you always think about that. I mean, this is how precise you have to be. Finger sanding. This is a little bit of an argument with Christopher and I, actually. Don't be careful when you're fine sanding an instrument, especially with the final finish. If you wrap the sandpaper around your fingers and you spend too much time in one spot, you can create a little divot in the wood or in the finish that is a nightmare to get out. Use a sanding block where possible. Tom, neck angle, neck angle, neck angle. Be careful of the neck angle. Overcutting nut slots. You know, it's something that everybody does. Hell, I did it last week, 2 weeks ago. You lose concentration for a fraction of a second. Oh my goodness, I've got to fill the nut slot, or I've got to make a new nut, I've got to put a shim underneath it or something like that. Don't forget to put the truss rod in before you glue the fretboard on. I need to go and ask him why he wrote that down. I'm hoping that hasn't happened yet. And neck pockets. In fact, joints of all sorts, they need to be tight. Don't over sand something so that it is loose and floppy, because loose and floppy is not fun, is it now? Anyway, as I said just now, if you take anything away from this, measure, measure, cut is the most important thing. I'll ask my wonderful sister, who's going to edit this video, to put all of the individual points in the description of this video, so you can have another look. Please, 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 if you've enjoyed this, if this has been useful in the slightest, click like, click subscribe, put your comments below. The beautiful thing about all of this, and the main reason I make these videos, is that I learn from your mistakes and I learn from your successes. In the comments below, please tell me mistakes you've made and fixes that you've found for those mistakes, because it's always interesting. Send us links to your videos or images or whatever. It's always interesting, and I'm constantly learning and constantly improving, and yeah, we're on this massive journey together. Also, please check out crimsonguitars.com. Actually, we're coming up to the end of January, which means that the massive discount that we've given everybody on our essential fret leveling toolkit and the Luthier's toolkit is coming to an end at the end of the month. So there's still, I think it's 15% or almost 15% off those toolkits, and that is going back to the normal 5% off. We are also starting to use our blog again, so crimsonguitars.com/workshop diary, where I'm trying to get everything up to date, and we're pushing out more content. The newsletter is going out more regularly. The workshop diary blog with photos of the builds that we're all working on are now going live. So yeah, spend some more time on our site, and well, I'll see you there. Have an excellent day. Thanks for watching. Go forth, make your own mistakes, and share them with me, because yeah, it's awesome. Goodbye.